Hey everybody, welcome back. Today I'm looking at drawing this fox. Basically the idea is that we have pretty much the end of the Halloween season is upon us. Everything else between here and December is going to be gearing up towards I think the birthday of Classic in December and then also Christmas. So one of the big events that comes in is the Christmas hat submission. Just to take some practice towards the art side of things and to have some kind of a subject for pixel art, I will draw a couple of hats. And I've selected a series of these beanies and like animal hats. The idea being that I don't think that we're supposed to do like dedicatedly Christmassy stuff, but it is a little bit like a little warm fuzzy toque, and they are pretty cute. I mean, this is pretty adorable here. So this is going to be my reference for this first one here. The fox ears are important to think about, especially the way that they're pointing out. Also, the dimensions of this, like it's not something where this is straight on. There's kind of a bit of an angle to the front of this picture. It's taken on a bit of a perspective. So just to keep that in mind while we're working with it, this is going to be my reference, but it's going to be more suited for the template in Graal while we're working with that. Okay, cool. So this is a hat template. This is again, it's downloaded online. I can probably give the link in the comments. I will be using this template probably for most of the hats. There's going to be, I think like 5 or 6 hats I'll probably do. I don't know if I'll record them all, but this is the idea for now. So first thing I'm going to do is set up a new layer on top of the hat template. So I'm going to call this Fox Base. Fox Bay. Fox Base. Okay, so the idea being that I will continue to use this template for the other hats as well. That way I can get like the basic design, basic shapes, all that good stuff. Down here I have the template, the color palette for Grail. And I'm going to pick out a couple of colors. Whatever is going to fit closest to the foxy colors in the image. So I'm going to take this one here, I think, and I will also look at. So in the fox image here, he's got there's a little bit of orange, there's a little bit of black, and there's a little bit of white. And really, those are the only 3 colors that are going on. But I think I'm probably going to wind up with a little bit more depth. So I think that orange is okay for now. And I will just kind of hash the whole thing in. Oops, I zoomed in on the wrong pic. Okay, going up here. All right, so you can see similar to the head template that we have multiple directions of the face. But basically the idea is that in this one we're not drawing on the face so much as we're going to draw on top. Basically whatever the image is that we put on here will be superimposed over the head. So whatever you draw within the bounds of a single frame or a single cell in the template will show up as a hat on the hat layer. So it's above the head basically. I'm trying to explain the layers on the sprites when we're using them. So this is basically top layer. Okay. So I've got this orange color. I've got a red, kind of a brick red color. I'm going to take the orange color. I'm going to size up my brush a little bit. I will make it, let's say, 5. And I'm going to just hash in where I think that this should kind of be. Probably around that depth. I think that might be a little bit high because I'm going to have to put those little spiky ears in there too, but I think that will start us off here anyway. Okay, so another thing that I'm doing up here, zoom in so it's really visible, is I'm going to try and make this a nice round slope along here. I've already failed at that. There we go. Give him another 2, and then a 1, and then a 1. I think we're going to need another pixel out right there. So this is actually looking more like a cap and less like a little beanie now. So I will take this at the top, and I'm going to cut paste and bring it down a little bit. And of course this is going to get refined as we go, and I will fill in this section right here too. Okay, I'm now going to size my brush back down and draw those ears. So you can see in this image that the ears are kind of, they're little circles. There's like a little circle, and then there's a smaller circle, and then there's like a half circle at the top. In the template here, it's probably going to be a little bit difficult to do that, but I can do my best. I think what I'll try is to set up another layer on top and call it fox ears. Okay, so basically if I'm going to make changes to the ears, I can do that easily without impacting the rest of the base. Okay, so I'm going to take this guy, I'm just kind of eyeballing this, trying to make it a little bit round, and maybe up till there. I think I need to go a little bit higher on this side. The idea being that I want to create a base, and then from there now I need to pick out another color. So I'm going to go for the white color, which actually I shouldn't be picking a white. If you look in the color values here, you'll notice that there is no absolute white or absolute black in any of the Graal template colors. So this is an off-white, but it's pretty close to what we're looking for. So on the image, we had that little tiny speck of, not really tiny speck, a round blob of white here, and then there's the black on top of that. So the way to do this, I'm going to draw the orange in, which I've done, then the white, then the black, because the black's on the top. Okay, so here comes some white in there. I'm going to do the same thing, try and make a little circle in here as much as I can. Take it down. And I'll probably detail this a little bit more later too. Okay, and then I'll take a black color. So again, black is not really an option. We might have a black value down here, but it's going to be, yeah, see, this is absolute black. We can't use absolute black in graphics for Graal. So to escape that and still use black, we're going to just bump that up to like, you know, some value that still is visually black. And then we'll close that out. And we're looking for that little kind of, it's almost straight across, and just a little tiny pop on the end there. And I don't think that the shape on this is perfect, but the general idea is there. Okay, so I'm going to go to Shift E, which is the eraser. I'm going to bump my size back down to 1 pixel, and I'm going to come up here and try and kind of skim the edges a little bit where there's a little bit extra going on. I think I can probably pare this right down on this side too. I would like that little dent in the top of the ear. And maybe the other thing that I can do is actually bring this in. So this has gotten a little, the white one has gotten a little bit away from me here. I think what I want to do is move this down a little bit and maybe accentuate the orange. Oh. So I'm going to take the orange up a side and here and there, and we're going to change this so it's kind of a little bit more interested in what's going on at the top up here and a little bit less interested in what's happening over here. All right. I'm also going to take the white and come up the side a little tiny bit and erase this 1 pixel of black that's coming up the wrong way. Okay, I think I will also replace this one with a white and move this whole thing over a little bit. And that's starting to look a little bit more like it. When we look in the template image, or the inspiration here that we have, it does have kind of a round look to it, and this isn't really quite there yet. Mind you, this is working with only a handful of pixels, so in comparison, it's probably not going to be super round. And this guy, there's one little pixel's hanging out here. And I think I can actually do one more little bulb right there. I'm happy with that. I think it looks pretty good. And what I will do eventually is copy all of these and morph them across. Okay, so I'm going to take this this color sample and I'm going to go back to my base. So I know that I'm going to have white on the base here, so I'm just going to dab a little bit of white in there. I also know I'm going to be using this black, so I'm going to do the same thing, dab a little bit of the black up here where I think it's going to be needed. And I'm going to move my focus a little bit down here. So I'm okay with those ears so far. I might do a little bit touch up later, but I think that it looks pretty good for now. Okay, so coming down into the other area, I'm going to remove the ear for now because the ear is going to overlap. If I take out the base, you can see where it's going to kind of come in. And this isn't really looking like much yet. Okay, so I'm having these little cute eyes. When we see in this one here, you can see the little cutesy eyes. He's got like kind of a a little bend, a little 45-degree angle turn in the eyes, which is pretty easy to do. I'm going to try and accentuate it a little bit, make it a little bit more obvious that it's little cutesy eyes. And then we're going to have the white. It's basically just a band across the bottom. I'm going to use the bucket fill to fill the orange color here. The other thing is that I want to have like a little bit of a little edge or an edge on the side here, and I also would like it to have a more rounded effect. So you can see that I'm just even taking one or two pixels out at the bottom here. Let's do 2. It's going to make that edge a little rounder. And we'll do the same thing at the top up here. So what I'm going to do is I'll actually take that white up, and I'm going to take the orange in. So I have a lot of space to play with at the top up here. And basically what I'm going to do is I'll take all of that orange, cut it, paste it, and move it in one so that that bump on the side of that white is really prevalent. That's coming in there. Okay, I think that I'm also going to move this eyeball up. Reason being it's going to have some shading and stuff going on. And the last but not least, I need to have a little button nose. There has to be a little tiny little round nose in the middle here. The other thing is that we've got some interesting patterning going on. So there's this, it's a woven or like a crochet hat, it looks like, might be knitted. And there is kind of a texture thing going on here. So I would like to do a little bit of that. We'll see how that goes. I will give it a shot. But first I'm going to put that little dark nose in here. So considering this is half of the image, I'm going to make this only half of the nose. I'm going to come up 2, down 2 on the side there, and then I'm going to do this. And it's going to be a perfectly round little nose when we copy that across. Okay, so the next thing is I'm going to look at that texturing. Basically, when you look at it, there's kind of 2 main aspects of this texture. One is that there's a light and a dark color going through the orange. There's also, I mean, the same kind of light and dark color going through the white. And then there's this layer here where we have these kind of zigzags going through where you can see that the white and the orange have come together. And that's something that we can emulate kind of by dithering. So dithering is an effect where you're kind of blending 2 colors together graphically, but what it looks like is something similar to that pattern. So having these little, I mean, it's an old style of impacting art in that way, and just having the 1 pixel may be enough, but I'm going to go for having 2 pixels down to make it really prevalent that you can see that that's there. Let's zoom out a little bit and see what it looks like. I like to view at 200%, and you can see that there is a little bit of that patterning going on there. 200% is very close to what you'll actually see in game. It's like when you look at the resolution on a mobile, typically the 200% mark, that's pretty close to what you're going to get. Okay, so I think maybe this layer here is not required, and what we'll do, I do like that this is working properly. I like the way that the pixels overlapping like that works. But I think what I want to do is have a layer of shading. So to get to that point, first thing I'm going to do is pop these ears back in. I'm going to merge these down into the main image. Oops. Merge down. And now we have one graphic. Okay, so now it's not a bunch of layers, it's actually just one image here. Okay, so I'm going to save here. Save hat template. And from there, I'm also going to eventually duplicate this across. So I'm going to have a look at what that looks like right now, just in case there's any glaring discrepancies about what it looks like. And I think it's a little bit fat. I think the way it's turned out is a little bit fat. It's a little bit chibi. The other thing that I like the little nose. I like the dithering. I like the ears. I quite like those little ears. But there's a couple of things I'm going to change. So I'm going to flip that back the way it was. And I'm going to pop these eyeballs back up a little bit. Like this. And I'm also going to take advantage of, in the image, like when we look at the inspiration image, there's a little bit of a round part at the top here. So I'm going to take advantage of this empty space that I had and pop that up and accentuate the round top a little bit. So that also means that to do that, I'm going to take down some of the details on the ear over here. So I'm going to take the top layers off of these guys here. And we'll do one more, because that when it comes across is going to be apparent. Okay, I'm going to take it back across and have another look. I think I can even get away with one orange one here, one orange one here. And pop that out like that. I think that looks pretty good. Great, okay. So I'm going to basically have my work by cutting this up. Instead of having to draw both sides of every single thing, you can just flip it at the end. So I'm going to take another layer and do some shading. And this is not just going to be shading for shading's sake. This is actually going to be related to the texture I was talking about as well. So I would like to see some kind of a texture in here that's subtle enough that you'll be able to identify it in game as a little knit hat. Okay, so the idea is I'm going for a full black. So this is a complete black and complete white. Here in GIMP, we have the ability to just choose that as your settings. There's a little tiny icon here. I don't know if you guys can see that, but there's a little icon here. It says set foreground color to black, background color to white, and it does absolute values. So I'm going to use that on this layer because what the effect is going to be is when I go into my graphic here and I start putting these little dots in, basically doing my shading or whatever the texture is going to be, I can use the opacity and I can change that. So it's only going to impact the color of the lower one. I'm not going to blot it out completely with like all black, all white. Basically, I'm going to take it and do some coloring and shading, and then be able to uniformly change that so that all of those shading effects are the same colors. And I mean, it is kind of a shortcut. You could go in and manipulate those pixels individually and change the colors as you wished, but I like to keep it a little bit simple when I'm doing my graphic stuff. Okay, so I'm going to do 3 spaces in between here. I had an extra one over here. Gonna do that whole edge shaded there, but I'm gonna take 3 spaces in between. So this one's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, 1. 2, 3, 1, 2. That's going to be like a little beaver if I do it that way. Okay, so actually, you know what? Let's do this the opposite way. I'm going to pull out my eraser. 1, 2, 3, empty spot. 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 And he's going to have now a two spot difference in the middle, which is okay. That's not so bad. It's only just going to show up a little bit. And it's also going to be just shading, so it's not going to be a terrible thing. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm now going to go through here and I'm going to emulate that same pattern. So we have up at the top here, I've got 2s. I'm going to take these 2s. I'm going to take those as my reference. And I'm going to take, let's see, down to left 2. No, that's going to be just, I'll do down 2 left 1. So I'm going to do down 2 left 1 from these guys. And put in my dots. And then I'm going to do down 2 left 1 again. Down 2 left 1. Look at that. Lines up right there. Down 2 left 1. Down 2 left 1. And basically this is the effect of dithering. So when I'm doing this, I'll just pretend that this one is down 2 left 1. What I'm doing is I'm trying to create a scenario where the shading is going to be impactful, and it's going to be visually apparent, that you'll be able to see that yes, there is some color in here. Okay, I'm also going to put some dots in these guys here. Oops. Underneath the places where the orange is coming in, because I want it to look like it's knit in there. I'm also going to put it underneath my little nose. I think that's good. And then when I pull the opacity down in the image, you'll be able to see it a little bit better. That this is like, it's got some texture to it, basically. And that's not it. I'm going to go through with the white as well. So I'm going to flip my colors. I'm using white as the other color now, or as my main color, my foreground color. And I'm going to put the white on the tops of my dithered spots. I'm not going to put one there because there's a shadow above and a shadow below. I'm also going to keep the whites on these guys. And this will be really, really subtle. You won't really be able to see it, but visually it'll give you a cue of what's going on. Now I'm going to do the same thing for the orange. But I'm going to make my spacing a little bit different than the one below. You know what, let's do the light ones first because it's going to be more apparent on the orange. So I'm going to pretend that I've got stitches that are 1, 2, 3 tall. And I'm going to dot my stitches here. Yeah, sure, why not? We'll put the lights on the top of the nose as well, just to pop it in there. And then I'm going to use the same effect. So with dithering, traditionally what you'll do is you'll actually space it out more. So you would see a larger space between the pixels at the top here. You might do like 3 like this. This is a traditional dithering impact. But what I want to do is kind of emulate that stitching pattern. So I'm going to do the same distance between them at the top here. This one I'm not going to do because there's a dark patch above. There's the eye, that eye stitch, the fabric that was coming across the top. So I'm going to skip this 1 pixel, this one here. And this one here is going to have I guess there's going to be a little bit of a nose going on. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to alternate that. So in this below one here, I'm going to come up to this spot here and continue across in the same way, 2, 2, 2 in between every single time, and then alternate again. So up 2, 3 from there, and I'm going to have that same thing going across the top. And this is a uniform pattern on a non-uniform object, which is kind of unfortunate, but it's what we're working with. This is also going to be shaded, not light here in this spot. Okay, so 1, 2, D, 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 D. Oh yeah, I'm alternating right. So it should be on the left-hand side of the top here. Okay, so this isn't going to look like much now. It looks like I've got you know, a bunch of polka dots on my little fox. But when I take this down, like the opacity comes down, I'll go about 30. What it's going to do is it's going to allow the player, or like whoever's viewing the graphic, you'll be able to see that there's a pattern to this, and it'll be just subtle enough that you'll see that there's a texture. So if I zoom out, I'm at 1500% right now, but if I zoom out, you can see the beginning of that there is a texture to this, right? I'm almost 200% here, right? And then the other part is I'm going to do the dark lines underneath as well, or the dark dots underneath. Okay, so I'm going to flip over my colors, and I'm going to go in, and here I've already got my dark underneath, but up here I'm going to start going with the dark underneath. So my stitches are basically 3 tall. The idea being that I've got a dark one at the bottom, a middle part, and a light part at the top. Kind of a bit of a shortcut job, but it is what it is. We got one. I think I'm actually going to highlight this the bottom of this entire thing is going to be a little bit darker because it is the dark section there. This guy and this guy. Oops. Okay, now comes actual shading. So I've got my actual shading on my eye. Beyond that, I've got a little bit of shading on my nose, but I'm also going to accentuate my ear. So coming up here, I'm going to take these colors here. I'm going to make it very apparent that the ear is got some depth to it. I'm also going to bring it along this edge over here. The reason being that this here is kind of textured in my mind, like it's got a little bit of a curl to it because of the way that this is set up. You can also consider that I can move right into the white because I'm working on another layer. And I am going to just take the whole bottom layer there. So I'm doing shading here. I can't really shade on black. It is what it is. I can shade under black. I can shade around black, but I can't do the shading on top of the black. Okay, so that's where we are now. It looks a little bit knitted, I suppose. Looks like a little knit hat to me. Okay, cool. Now the next part is I'm going to flip this across the whole thing. I'm going to keep my shading layer as is, but I'm going to take the color below, flip it, and then I'm going to take my shading as well and do the same thing. So I'm going to flip my shading around. So I've got the same effect on the other side. And give it a little bit of zoom out. Have a look at where we're at. There's actually something interesting that I'm noticing here, which is that the individual pixels, the one single pixels are not really doing it justice, but this double pixel actually looks more like a stitch to me. So I think what I might do is, oh, not more shadows. We might do some more light drawing on here. So basically just taking these and making them into twos. I'm not going to do every layer. I'm just going to do the alternate ones. And see how that works. Because if I do the alternate ones, it's going to line up with the oops. If I do the alternate ones, it's going to line up with the layers in here that are also two on the centronose part here. And I did it out this way. I think that looks good. I'm pretty happy with that. It's nicely textured. It's uniformly textured is another thing, and we kind of have an idea about how to get the rest going. Another thing that I've noticed, especially at this 200% layer, or at the 200% zoom rather, is that we've got these single pixels. There's a single pixel here in my base layer, which is really popping out on both sides. And I think that I have to remove that black one too. I'm not sure. Because what was happening there is, if you look at it, it was curling around the dark part. And now that we've removed that, it's a lot better. Cool. Okay. So now what this needs is a merge down, I suppose. I'm gonna go for merge. I'm actually, you know what? I'm gonna play with the opacity just quickly. Make it a little less apparent. See what that looks like. Make it a little bit more apparent. I don't like it more apparent. I think about 25 or 30 is where we sweet spot here. Yep, going for 30. And it's important that we do a nice round number, so later on when we come back to it, we can do the same thing again. Makes it work properly. Yeah, and I mean, technically I can probably leave it at this stage and come back to it and do the same effect. I want to get an outline in here before we go, just to see what it looks like. Okay, so I'm going to copy that, paste it, and then I'm going to do another layer. Foxy outline. And I'm going to take that layer down below the box base. I'm going to paste into that layer. Wow, that looks so much simpler. So you can see the difference between just the Fox baseline and with the knitting on there. Okay, so I'm going to hold this in the exactly same position. I'm going to go one left, paste, one right, one up, paste, one down, one right, paste, one left, one down, paste. And that should give us a decent outline. Might not be perfect. I'm going to cut that, paste it. I'm going to use my handy dandy fill bucket. I'm going to fill whole selection by holding shift. And it's white, apparently. I want the black outline. There we go. So when I'm looking at this, I have a really apparent little outline, which is cool. There's actually a trick that we can use to change that a little bit. And basically I can take a black color and pop that up, but the thing that I want to do is I'm actually going to sample my orange. So I'm going to go in here, I'm going to sample my orange color. My orange is the most prominent outline. I think that actually in all the areas that I'm going to use this effect, we're going to be dealing with the orange. So I'm going to take this orange and I'm going to take it down in lightness. Basically, my color sliders are glitching out here. I'm just getting pink everywhere. Basically, I'm just going to take it down to almost black, just affecting the lightness, and I'm going to go around the edge of this, the outline, right about here, to give it a 3D effect. So I'm going to come in here. Oh, somehow. Oh, I see what happened. I didn't hit apply. Gotta hit OK. So I'm going to take that back down. Take my lightness almost to black. Go OK. And now I'm dealing with that darker orange color. I'm going to leave this section black. I'm also going to leave this section up here black because it's working with black in general. And then I'm going to take these guys right here. Maybe this part here. And then I'm going to take one more variation of this. So I will increase my lightness a little bit, not much, but a little bit, so that there's kind of a light effect. And what this is going to do is it's going to create, for one thing, softer edges. but it's also going to create an effect where the graphic itself has a little bit more depth. So on the bottoms, like on the bottom layer, it's still black. I'm leaving the bottoms black, but then when I come up to the top, it's going to have an effect like it's got some light on it on the outline as well. I'm tempted also to use this color on my eyes near the top here. Do right there like that. And I'm going to freehand it on the other side just because. And that's going to give it also a little bit of depth. You can already see actually from this layer here that it kind of looks like it pops up and then goes back down. That you can see in the corners that it's actually in the fabric or a little bit further down in the fabric. I'm pretty happy with that. I'll do the same thing on the nose. Let's lean into it. Why not? Give him a cutesy little nose. It's got a little bit of depth to it now. This part up here, sure. Do the same thing on this side. There we go. Cool. Okay. I don't want to mess with it too much. We got a good thing going here. The one thing I might change going forward is to deepen the eyes, but I want to look at the side view before I make that call. I might come back and do another pixel width on the eyes just to make it a little bit more apparent in places. The other thing is I'm not super happy with this right here. This spot right here is actually a little bit out of whack. It's not as round as it could be. So I can do like this, and I think that fixes it. It's good for now. I think I'm also going to touch up the tops of these ears looking at them. Maybe a little bit more pointy. Something like that. See what that looks like on the old 200. Yeah, looks pretty good. Not the one top pixel, but the rest of it looks a little bit rounder anyway. Oh, and I do want that little notch in the top so it's properly round. Cool. All right, so there's the beginning of my very symmetrical knit hat. It's a little fox hat. Looking at the reference, I think my colors are a little bit less saturated than this. I think that when we look at the colors in the original one, it's got a little bit more brightness to it, but that's also related to the Graal palette. All right, good stuff. Thanks everybody for watching. Hope you've enjoyed. Hope it was informative. I will see you next time.